There's a lot of phrases I'm not really a fan of, but definitely when someone says, "Oh, I just can't wait to do this," I'm like, well, you have to. That's how the linear progression of time works. Hey everyone, Kyle from Cosplays from Trash. Last week I talked about making Pokemon Clink. As the name suggests, we mostly make cosplay, but also everything like nerd slash trash related of whatever Venn diagram you want to make. Point is, we're going to talk about some things I've made out of trash, specifically props. The intro bit for this was going to be everyone's favorite gay Captain America, but there aren't really that many gay Captain Americas, and a lot of people don't know who Aaron Fisher is. Anyway, Aaron Fisher is Captain America of the Railways. I think is a sus name, but it is appropriate given he's like around trains and stuff. Since he is very much a quote unquote trashy Captain America, and at first when he debuted, he didn't really have any powers, it was very fitting for him to make his shield out of a trash can lid. Several comments that I've gotten, well, people have seen this costume in person or online, they'll be like, that kind of looks trashy. I'm like, that's the point. I intentionally made it out of a trash can lid because he like is a runaway that lives in like a railroad house, abandoned railway place. People are contrarians all the time, but this one definitely irks me a little bit because it's like it's intentional. As much as I absolutely love my Harley Quinn Christmas outfit, this is kind of a beast. This is relatively heavy. Do you know why this is heavy? This kind of makes sense, but the pole, guess what it's made of? It's a metal pole from some, I don't know, broom or something like that. Again, I don't always remember exactly how things come to be. And while it is covered in cloth, so these two things are not the heaviest. Quick overview before I go into like the innards of it. This is what one side looks like. I took off this end because it's kind of looking like a hammer slash Christmas present. This is the inside that we're mostly going to talk about before we go back to the outside. So on the inside, as you can see, it is gross in there. These two things, that didn't really make a noise because there is foam on the outside, but there's a yellow and a blue bucket that make up the components of this hammer. It is relatively heavy. If you think that two buckets aren't that heavy, try carrying it around for an entire day of the con while connected to a metal rope. And there's also a decent amount of hardware in here. I kind of gave up on trying to figure out how to make this light very quickly into the process, and it just bolted. It adds up. It's not that heavy of a prop. It's probably about 15 pounds, but 15 pounds this size swinging around, not very comfortable. While this part is, I think, part of a yoga mat, that doesn't really make it any lighter. Each individual part, whether it's the ribbon or the wrapping paper, yeah, those are pretty light by themselves, but as I said, it keeps getting heavier and heavier. You know, I love trash, and as much as I want to prioritize making things out of trash, physics is always going to be a problem when you're working with cosplay, but especially with trash, because you want to make sure things don't fall apart, but then also aren't super heavy to carry around. So I would not recommend doing it this way unless you're okay with it being pretty heavy. Also on the wrapping paper, I spray paint these little Batman. It looks like he just got hit by the hammer. It seems, again, very Harley Quinn-esque. Definitely one of the heavier props. There's a couple really heavy props that I have, but this one's probably the most obnoxious. One of my simpler costumes was Diddy Kong, even though it took me way too long. Why did it take me so long to do? Because these blasters, I decided to make the hard way. I am kind of proud of these, but someone pointed out that they look inappropriate kinda when straight on, and I said, why did you have to say that? Because now I'm gonna think that. Let's talk about the construction of these totally safe for work blasters. The bottom part is multiple layers of like one of those like sleeping cushion pads glued together. Cool part is definitely the actual peanut blaster parts. The base of it is a protein powder tub, which, you know, I have a lot of because I go through a lot of protein powder. The top was cut off and inverted so that it kind of gives this, don't. I know some of you are going to be gross. don't. Or do, it's kind of funny. So I'm not going to do that motion again. The outside, these are some like bamboo placemat that my grandmother was getting rid of. And the inside is this weird papery stuff that I got. It's like tissue paper, but it's a very large roll of it. And I have absolutely no idea what it is. But yeah, I mean, this is a good example of just using household waste. Make totally appropriate peanut blasters. I'm going to go get more props. Someone did ask me once, like, oh, do you wear pants during filming? Sometimes no. Sometimes I'm dressed in my boxers. So throwing your ass in a circle, that doesn't make any sense because Kyle and Post here glossing over a lot of mathematics that people probably don't care about, but there is a difference between topology and geometry. In short, dimensions are, at least mathematically and physically as well, how we kind of like express things. And if you express a circle as a infinite number of points that are equidistant from a central point, aka an infinite number of radii, you can express a circle in one dimension because all you really care about is a line. Lines are going to be one dimensional because you're only going on like one axis. But since we mostly care about things in a two-dimensional space, and wow, I for context, I have a master's in mathematics and I didn't have friends. Just kidding, I had friends. I like math. Okay, back to the video. I did talk about this a few weeks ago, but I'm very proud of my little hamster hat from Rescue Hamster because I think I look very adorable in it. I typically know how good I look or bad I look in something, so typically I'll just say it out loud. I won't be like, tee hee, this looks bad, right? This was a construction helmet. My grandfather did construction and carpentry, and it's like, wow, maybe that's why I know how to do a lot of stuff that I do. That's crazy. So this is one of his construction helmets from, actually, I think it was from a ceremonial dig. The cute part on this is these are two cups that were kind of cut down at an angle. So just imagine a cup and then you slice it off to kind of give it this shape. The inside is just a mix of like robe and towel, and the backing is some of the pants that I ended up using. Probably my favorite costume of 2025. I mean, I can't even really twerk. I guess you do this. No, see, I don't. So one of the first props that I really made out of trash is this banjo. Banjo-lele? I mean, I'm assuming it's a banjo. Like, I'm pretty sure banjo plays a banjo. That would make sense, and it's not a banjo-lele. But I think I made a banjo-lele. The top part is actually a ukulele that was literally driving by and this guy was moving, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, you got a ukulele! I was gonna make something out of it! I think I did sound like that because I was so excited. This is like really gross clay that I had for a very long time. So the nubbins, I don't really twist those. They're just kind of glued on. And the strings are, I think, literal string. These are just yard signs. Someone put a yard sign in my front yard of a person that let's just say that I'm not a fan of a lot of rhetoric they say. So I quickly took down the yard sign. Various doohickeys on here are, again, just like scraps of stuff. I think this is just a little metal bit. But the main thing is, I don't remember what the side is made of now. Off the top of my head, but the front and the back are just yard signs. This is more of an advice thing and has nothing to do with like trash props, but when you are making things together, I cannot stress enough if there is going to be any force exerted on the object, especially in a direction that is perpendicular. Well, let me put it this way. When you're connecting this to this, since this is one piece of the round and the neck is the other piece, you can't just glue it together and hope to stick it together. See, it's even a little wobbly now. You're going to need some other way to connect it. I've worked a lot of cosplay repair stations and helped a lot of people with cosplay, and something that is, I think, just not a concept until you start making things in general is you can't just, if you got two things, you can't just glue them together and hope that it's going to stick because it will break like that. Between the weight of the objects and the force exerted on the top or the bottom poles, this will happen. There's a very good chance that you're not going to be able to do it just adhesives. I helped a friend without the other night, and I think he just didn't believe me the entire time because we tried literally every adhesive, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to work, and it didn't. One of my most famous props, I guess, is when I did my Energizer Bunny, and this is the drum that goes over me. It is not super comfortable, so I don't really want... I'll put it on, fine. I don't want to work. I just want to bang on my drum all day. I'm going to put this, well, you know what? I'll keep it on. This is a rain barrel, and the frustrating part about, which I did not think of when I was initially making this, if you have a water bottle, it's basically going to stay in a circle the entire time. Throw it around, roll it, sure, it may move a little bit, but it bounces back. Why does it bounce back? Because it basically has a top and a bottom to it. Once you remove that, the perfect circle of your cylinder is going to fail. I didn't think about that when making this, and so immediately when I cut the top and bottom off, I was like, this is not going to be a perfect circle. I could not think of a lightweight way to do this. I basically made a very large asterisk. That word of wood in the middle, which is basically 8 30-inch planks that were actually from a bed frame someone gave me. And so there's this asterisk star in here that keeps the circle a circle. The white on this and the top white are different. I think this is like, yeah, it's one of those like thick plasticky banners. I don't know exactly how to describe it. The ones that you can't really rip easily. This is some cotton material, so it has some bounce when you actually do this. Barring weight and covering it, I knew that was all going to be fine. Before I get into the hard part, this is blue jean straps. They're actually tennis grips that I painted with paint. Ooh, it's just paint. He didn't like crush rocks up and put them under the sun until they bleached blue. That doesn't happen. This was white rope, but I literally extracted the white. It was braided together. It was like some fishing slash boat rope, you know, like one of those kind of rope, whatever word that is. These little bits. Do I have any more of them? Hold on. It's worth it to go find them. BRB. I mean, they're right over here somewhere. Kind of hard to categorize. I have a box of Thangleborngles. They are these. I guess I could look up what they are, and I probably will in post. That's a problem for future Kyle. There wasn't anything super difficult until we get to the part that actually supports the drum. When I put these in, and I don't even actually know what they are, I kept noticing that this kept being pulled out. It just didn't want to stay in there. A diagram will definitely help here. Using as much trash as possible, I ended up using washers and just tying it to here, but that was the problem where it kept coming out because, you know, the washer would butt up against this, and when you put a lot of force on it, sure, the washer part would actually stay in, but that little thing would pop out. So I had to create a bunch of separation. The washer stops about maybe 2-ish inches in. It's actually a barrier, which is a pill bottle. It prevents the washer from actually coming up against this part. Like the washer is being held in by the pill bottle, and this is truly decorative. Thank you so much for watching. I thought I was going to go over more props, but once again, it takes me longer to do things, and I always think it's going to. If you would like to see part 2 of this video, or rather a part 2, where I just go over other props, come for the titties, stay for the content. But that is kind of true because I really do appreciate that a lot of people see CFT as more than just TNA. So thank you. Fine, if you, I mean, obviously some people are here just for TNA. That's fine. I'm not saying that. I just appreciate that it's a non-zero number of people that also like care about Kyle and Ryan and Tyler and like the whole CFT thing and like trash, because like we really try to do a lot. You just stop doing that. Oh my gosh, the lesbians again. This is a pre-sneeze face. This is a post-sneeze face. Another sneeze face. Crusty beetles. They are, if we ever meet again, a bug. They say that teenagers scare the living heck out of me. Ooh. Princess and the Frog is the best Disney 2D animation. It's Captain Cookie Monster. I was about to say, I just invented a new dance. I didn't.